Good morning. My name is Jim Shanley. I'm the former president of Fort Peck Community College. I retired here several years ago, and I was asked this morning to give a short history of the college and talk about some of its purposes and the reason for it existing here on the Fort Peck Reservation, which I was more than happy to do. About 50 years ago, and as you can see, I'm older than 50, but about 50 years ago, society in the United States started to change. At that point in time, or up until that time, it had been a real privilege for people to go to college, to go to a four-year institution after high school. Most people went on to get a job or to take up a trade, and such as plumbing or welding or truck driving, and find a way to make a living and continue their lives and get married and have children. And our society was tiered between those people that had a college education and those that didn't. But in the late 60s and the early 70s, people started to realize that if our society was to advance, given the technologies that were being developed and the things that were happening, we had to have more educated people. And so there became a push nationally to try to educate more people. Part of that included an act of the government, which was called Title III of the Higher Education Act. And it helped developing institutions, primarily for those areas where people had never been served by higher education, like Indian reservations. In the case of Fort Peck, two institutions, Dawson Community College down at Glendive and Miles Community College down at Miles City, joined together in a Title III grant, money that was given to them by the federal government, to start providing higher education courses at Fort Peck. And they were very popular. And after doing this for a year or two, the people at Fort Peck said, well, there's no reason why we shouldn't run this ourselves. So they formed Fort Peck Community College. And at that point, it was very small, you know, about 50 students a semester, if that many, and depending on what they offered. And they varied the courses depending on what people needed in order to graduate down at Glendive or Miles City. And many people from the reservation actually went down and received two-year degrees from either Miles City or Glendive. So that pattern was pretty well established at that point, and I came in 1984. I came back to Fort Peck. I was born and raised here at Poplar over on the creek bank, right next to the river, and so I spent my childhood down there hunting frogs and lots of a lot of very good. It was a very good childhood. But in any case, I came back in 1984. I graduated from school from Poplar, and I went to work at the college. And since that time, we've expanded greatly in terms of the college. We've been able to offer more vocations, more career choices in terms of ways that you want to go, and we've produced a lot of people in areas in collaboration with other colleges, like teachers and nurses, people with masters in business administration, and those people then have gone into the community and filled positions and helped to provide services to the people that live here at Fort Peck. And the college grew slowly. As they grew, there had been, I think I would say something like 12 tribal colleges at different reservations prior to the formation of Fort Peck. And I can't tell you how many there are now. There must be 25. but they serve a large Indian population, probably the largest Indian population of any collective higher education system in the country. And they make a big difference because they train people, and most of those people end up staying home, or most of these people are local. However, if they want to go off or they want to go to someplace else, they have adequate training to do that. One of the core things that I like to talk about for students when I was at the college, but students now, that's so important, is technology. Our world has changed dramatically, and this COVID-19 has really showed how much it's changed. You know, we've had to shut school systems down all over the country, including college and university systems, and elementary and secondary schools, and we've had to look for new ways to try to educate people. And we know there are 2 or 3 different modalities or ways to approach learning that we can use very effectively. You know, some sorts of distance learning using technology like Skype or the internet. We can package materials, package curriculum, and have people study and get tutored through the internet or get tutored through study groups or chat rooms. There's just a whole variety of ways that we can support people's learning. And now is an excellent time because many people are going to be forced to restrict their activities. Hopefully, we've only got 5 or 6 months of this epidemic left, and they develop a vaccine, and we're able to get back to our regular ways of life. But in any case, I'm optimistic because I think that this COVID thing will have improved education. I've been saying for a long time, and people don't seem to. We seem to live in the moment, and we forget that it wasn't very long ago when things were different. It's only been in the past 15 years that we've developed smartphones. You could get a smartphone 15 years ago, but it was most of them were Blackberries or some larger formatted instrument, and they were valuable, but they weren't that valuable. Now any citizen almost in the world can get a smartphone, and sitting almost any place in the world, they can find out information from the deepest part of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. If you want to know who hit the home run in the 1915 World Series 3rd game, you can find that out. You can find out when Custer was killed down at the Little Bighorn. You can find out who Custer was. You can find out, you have access to information that the generations prior to you did not have. In order to have that information prior to the smartphones, an individual would have to memorize it. And that memorization and that accumulation of small bits of information became part of what we call education. Now education's changing, so it's changing for you. What it means is it's a way of figuring things out, a way of solving problems, a way of approaching life and applying the information that you can take over here, applying it to what your particular situation is right now. And it also, these instruments and stuff can also help you skill build. They have a thing they call Babbel now, which is a piece of software or app that you can get on your phone. And I don't know, they got 60 or 70 languages on it. So if you're sick and you get the virus, sit at home and learn Spanish or Afghani or something that appeals to you. There's also many other kinds of skills that you can build using modern technology. The thing is that prior to the last 15, 20 years. That didn't exist in this world. This is now a time when people, if they want to become educated, if they want to learn things about the world that they live in, it's wide open to them, and it's virtually free. I mean, it costs money to have a phone, and it costs a few other things, but compared to what the cost used to be years ago, the university where I went to school, and I got a doctorate in educational administration there, their computer was about as big as the room that we're sitting in now. It was a mainframe, and you had to stack up these cards to answer one question that I can get answered on an iPhone now. It's amazing the things that have changed. So I'd like to say to everybody that's listening in, Fort Peck Community College had a good beginning. It grew. It's a strong institution. You have good faculty. You have good staff. You have student support staff that are going to be there to help you out. The college is going to use several methods to try to teach you, particularly during the next 6 months or a year. And if you want to try to improve or you can add to those methods, please feel free to do that and to let your instructors know that you think you can learn in a different way. They'll be more than open to the process. So good luck with your academic futures. I hope that you have good careers, good lives, and add to the Fort Peck tribe, the Assiniboine and Sioux tribes.